Donald Trump has reaffirmed his commitment to carry out the largest deportation program in American history. Our correspondent Will Grant has travelled to the Mexican-US border city of Tijuana to meet some of those in a migrant camp.
These days, the road to the White House begins at the US southern border. Like no other issue, immigration raises tempers and brings out votes. For Donald Trump, it proved a winning strategy, and he arrives to the White House with both a promise and a threat to carry out what he calls the largest deportation in American history.
The border security measures I will outline in my inaugural address tomorrow will be the most aggressive, sweeping effort to restore our borders.
For migrants stuck in the Mexican border city of Tijuana, that's intended as a warning. Some have travelled thousands of dangerous miles to reach this point. Others, like Oralia, are fleeing cartel violence in Mexico itself. With her children, she's waited 7 months in this shelter to lodge an asylum request. But Trump's return, she says, has left her defeated. Now we've lost hope of being able to cross, I'll have to find somewhere to live in Mexico and trust in God to keep us safe, she adds. People running migrant shelters are worried that things are about to turn very ugly.
We're being hit on 2 fronts. Firstly, the arrival of Mexicans and many other migrants who are fleeing violence. But also, we'll have the mass deportations. We don't know how many people will come across the border needing our help, but together, that could create a huge problem.
In the shadow of the border fence, a handful of migrants and activists gathered to voice their opposition to Trump's policies. But in truth, they'll struggle to be heard over the clamour of those in the US calling for a crackdown. It's important to distinguish between rhetoric and reality when it comes to Donald Trump and immigration. For all the talk of building a border wall, only 80 miles of new fencing were erected during his last time in office. Now, of course, he's threatened to deport millions of undocumented people from the United States, and people here, for now, are taking him on his word. Of all those most immediately impacted by Mr. Trump's return to the White House, undocumented immigrants inside the US and waiting at the border are perhaps at the top of the list. As he delivers his inaugural speech, they're bracing themselves for the executive orders which will follow, and which could radically change the way the country's immigration system is run. Will Grant, BBC News on the US-Mexico border.